feared and feared through Killarney. Now I'm back to hitching with the wind. But if Mickey Flynn should ever find me, I'll throw me caution all behind me and square off on that son of a bitch again. He cracked open a river too, he beat me Sunday through and through, and so jiggle my unconscious frame. I won me healthy sheriff fights, well lucky son still had me life since Mickey Flynn beat me dumb and lame.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Chasing the Pennant. Well, I guess at this point we might be just chasing a win, as unfortunately the Phillies have now dropped 5 of their last 6, get swept to the Baltimore Orioles. But first, let's welcome in our my co-host here. First, let's start off with Sean. How you doing?
As good as I can be. Not excited to talk about Phillies baseball. Wish we were talking about some Flyers hockey, but here we are. It needs to be done. Some things need to be said. And I'm ready to get to it.
I absolutely agree. At least the Flyers gave us a win the other night, something to be happy about. But Joe, how you doing?
Yeah, not too well. I would be much better, like Sean said, talking about anything but the Phillies right now. But got to do it. Got to talk about this absolute terrible team right now. So let's get into it.
Yeah. First off, let's start with Wednesday night's game. That was a 5-4 Baltimore win over the Phillies. Phillies had Zach Eflin on the mound, and he didn't look too bad his first start. Yesterday, he finishes the day with 6 innings pitched, 4 runs, 10 strikeouts. Obviously, with this offense, you expect the 4 runs to keep him in the game and have a chance to win. Essentially, bullpen does their job, and once again gives up another run in the game. I mean, Sean, I'll start with you. Obviously, we all know the bullpen issues, and we'll get into that a lot today, obviously. So let's start with some of the good. Again, I'll take 4 runs from Eflin, but what are your overall thoughts on Eflin so far, and what did you think about him yesterday?
I didn't get to watch this game. I was working, but from what I kind of gathered, he didn't look terrible, but it wasn't very promising. There's something about this Orioles team that seems like they're just putting together an amazing stretch. It's like I don't know where this came from, but they're hitting everything. And you look at all of their averages, especially after these last 2 games, they're first in the majors in batting average. So it feels like nobody can stop them right now. And I mean, I was a little, if Eflin gives off a little bit better than what he gave against the Orioles yesterday, I can see him holding his ground as the 4th or 5th starter, but it's still the Orioles, and I mean, I don't even know what to say about this. I mean, we can't lose 3 straight to the Orioles.
I will say, and you mentioned it, like obviously we come in this year and everyone's expecting Baltimore to be bad. I think it's funny looking at the record. Now they're 10-7, but 9 of those 10 wins have come from 3 series. This is their 3rd sweep on the season. They swept the Red Sox, they swept the Phillies now, and they swept the Rays. I think it's just funny. I know it's kind of off topic of the Phillies, but it's just funny how, like, if you take out, like, if they don't sweep a team, they struggle. It's like they only put together a couple good games in a row. So to me, that's just funny, the way it's already their 3rd sweep of the season. So maybe it's time to start taking this team a little more seriously. I don't know. But I don't know, Borek, about you, if you had a chance to watch a lot of the game, but I mean, another day for Adam Morgan to struggle. I mean, what are your thoughts on him, and how long do you give for Adam Morgan before you just say his time's up?
Well, I don't think his time's going to be up because Austin Davis is worse than Adam Morgan, and Cole Irvin is worse than Adam Morgan. So you have 2 lefties that are worse than Adam Morgan. So just by default, his time's not going to be up. You should probably pitch him less pretty soon if he continues to struggle, but the problem is everyone else stinks. So who is going in to replace Adam Morgan? Like, you might as well throw in a janitor, like Evan Gaddis came back from baseball. Like, is there some janitor that used to pitch that threw gas that had no control? Like, maybe he can just all of a sudden remember how to pitch and control the strike zone. Like, the Phillies have a better chance with that at this point than their damn relievers. I mean, Neil Walker looked better than half of our relievers, and he couldn't control. And he threw like 70. Some people on our podcast might be able to still throw like 76. Like that's not like Plesac said on MLB Tonight. That's not hard to do. when you used to actually throw a baseball a lot. So, but position players aren't trained to gas it. But it's like this team's just been a joke recently. Like the bullpen's a joke all season.
That's where they found Luis Garcia, right? Wasn't he like a barber or something before they signed him?
I have no freaking clue, but that guy's not from here. So and now we got rid of Edgar Garcia. Anybody with the last name Garcia is just probably not going to pan out for the Phillies, it seems like. So, but no, this team, yesterday we at least still see Harper hitting. He got 2 hits. JT got 1 hit in yesterday's game. So, I mean, it's nice to see. I mean, obviously, Sean's favorite guy, Andrew Knapp, had a great game. So, I mean, figured I would get that in there. He also called the game. I actually think Eflin pitched a little bit better than what you said, Sean, because his sinker was really good, and I think it was actually because of Knapp, because Knapp's really good at calling the game. Like, he was struggling. He literally kept going. Throw this, throw this, throw that. Like, I don't know if you noticed that, Andrew, but he kept going because his sinker was having good movement yesterday. At any time that it was prone to, like, be an out pitch or a pitch he knew he needed, like a double play or a potential ground ball or something, Knapp would call that pitch because he knew it was on. He wasn't calling his breaking balls as much at times. And I think that's, well, one, a good thing to show how much JT has helped Knapp, but also just on Knapp for being good at calling behind the plate. We know how good he is at doing that. So I think that's why Eflin was actually able to get through the 6, because he called a very good game as well, and they've always had good communication. I feel like Knapp should probably honestly be Zach Eflin's, like you talked about it maybe with Nolan when he had that one good start, be Eflin's catcher, because they've always seemed to have good communication there. And then Blake Parker, savior of the bullpen. You know? Blake Parker, Ramon Russo, the saviors of the bullpen.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Borek, Knapp had a couple more hits. He went 3 for 4 yesterday. Now he's hitting 625 on the season. I know it's been 4 or 5 games for him, but he's going out there getting the job done when he has to, when he's getting called upon, and that's all you can really ask from him. And obviously, he's a bat that everyone, I mean, a lot of the fans weren't too pleased with last year, gave up with him. And Sean, I mean, I'll give you credit. You stuck with him through our entire group chat. I mean, you got to be happy with what you've seen from him. I know you didn't get to see last night, but just overall in the season, I mean, you got to be happy with the way he's been backing it up. And at least let's talk about one positive so far through the season.
Well, there haven't been many to talk about, but yeah, he's definitely been one. And even though it's only been 3 games, he has shown that, you know, his bat isn't a complete liability. And like Borek was saying, he can call a good game. And I think similar to how, like, a lot of teams with their backup catchers, they would give him, you know, once a week starts to where they would kind of pair him up to catch for a certain pitcher. I think if you keep him with Eflin, somebody that's probably the 4th or 5th starter, but has shown that he has the potential to be, you know, at least give you a quality start maybe, I think that could really help him out and benefit, especially for a pitcher that might need the help more than guys like Nola and Wheeler and Arrieta.
Man, I absolutely agree with that, and especially with the way, and if they pick Eflin, I believe they probably worked together when Eflin was coming up in the minors. So I mean, they obviously have chemistry from that spot, so they've been working with each other for a while. So yeah, like you said, pick a guy there that can give you that quality start and move on from there. But I mean, these games just go hand in hand at this point, I feel like. So we'll just talk about today's game as well before we just talk about the overall season so far. Today, offense puts up 4 runs again. Pitching gives up 11. Arrieta started the game. I mean, he looked fantastic through the first 4 innings, and then I don't know what happened all of a sudden. In the 5th, he kind of just blew up. Gives up 4 runs in the 5th inning. Can't even finish the 5th as he gets pulled with 2 outs. They turn to Alvarez. He pitches a scoreless inning. Then they try Vince Velasquez out of the bullpen. Gives up 2 runs in his 1 inning of work. Austin Davis gives up 2 runs and not even an inning of work. Then they bring in Brogdon, which we all have high hopes for, and he's shown some good stuff. First pitch of the game, he gives up a 3-run home run, which 2 of the runners were charged to Davis. And then he gives up another home run when they tried to go for a 2nd inning of work before they finished the game off with Neil Walker. Overall, let's discuss Brog. Also, I forgot to mention Alec Bohm got called up. I should have started with that. Says my bad. He gets called up.
Completely overshadowed.
It gets
completely
overshadowed though
by
because of the game.
Phillies.
Like, I honestly kind of forgot about it because of how bad the game was. But no,
Right.
Alec Bohm gets called up. Unfortunately, one of your hottest hitters gets put on the IL, and Adam Hazley. So now they got to be a few games without him. And Roman Quinn's going to get that center field job now, probably with Scott Kingery probably platooning there at some points, depending on what spots utility-wise they want to do with it. So, Sean, I'll start with you on this one too. Let's start with Alec Bohm. Obviously, he's been the guy in the minors we've been trying to all talking about, and we've been pulling for throughout the struggle. How happy were you to see him get called up today, one, and then two, what'd you see from him in his first game?
I couldn't be any happier when I heard that he was getting called up. I got the tweet sent to me, and I was freaking out for, maybe 5 minutes until I realized that the Phillies were going to blow this game tonight somehow. They were going to ruin his debut just like, they ruined Spencer Howard's. So, I mean, I was happy with what I saw so far. He looked like his glove was fine at third, and from what we've heard, Clentak and Girardi believe that he's going to be the starting third baseman from here on out for a decent amount of time, with Segura moving to second and Kingery becoming that platoon guy, like you said. And I'm happy about that. I love his bat being in the middle of the lineup. It gives you a little more depth. It takes out a guy that was completely struggling to start this year. Scott Kingery has looked absolutely terrible so far. I really, I haven't completely given up on him, but at this point, it's starting to look kind of grim. He does not look like his bat belongs in any major league lineup. And I'm glad that we got Bohm up. I need him batting behind guys like Bryce and JT and really getting as many RBI chances as possible.
No, I agree with you. I thought in a couple of his spots at the plate, I thought looked pretty good. He gets one hit, which is his first hit at the bat, hit one right down the third base line for a double. And I thought that one, I forget what inning it was. I think it might have been his third at bat. It looked like he almost had it, kind of just missed it, almost drove it out to right center. So kind of showed the opposite field there as well, even though it ended with an out. But like you said, I was very excited to see it. Borek, I don't know about you if you want to touch on that too as well right now.
Yeah, I mean, Bohm, I think we were all freaking out that he got caught up and then freaking out by the fact that we didn't think this game would happen for a short period of time because of the rain on the day that he got called up. But at this point, it probably would have been a lot better if that did happen.
I agree with that.
But, yeah, I mean, he looked good. He also put a nice swing on that ball. He flew out to opposite field with, I think it was second and third or first and third at that point. I can't remember. There was two guys on it. But he looked really good at the plate, I think, for his first game. He looked great fielding. He caught that one and transitioned real quick and threw it. And everybody talked about him not having the quickest feet at third base. That was like one of the things scouts said. His feet wouldn't be the best to field at third base. Well, you have to be quick with those double plays when you catch a liner. So that was nice to see in his first. And then Gene Segura moving to second worked out really well because he sucks at fielding at third base, and he made a great diving play today at second base. So that seemed to work out real well. But I think Bohm's going to be a third baseman. I think he has at least 5 years at third. He might because of his stature. Sometimes those guys tend to move after 5, 6, 7 change years to first base. But I think he has at least 5 good years playing the position at third base. I think he'll be able to field it fine. I really like what I saw from him in his first night to talk about a positive.
No, I hope you're right. It gives it 5 years. We'll see what they do with him because obviously the talks about him going to first too as well. So we'll see what happens, especially if Hoskins continues to struggle. I mean, you might move him around and whatever options are available. But no, yeah, overall, I mean, the offense. I think the story of this year has been just not consistent enough. I mean, we see them drive the ball like crazy at times, and I know 4 runs isn't awful, but it's also not the best when you got to put up, I feel like 10 runs a game to win at this point in the season. But I think the good thing is you're getting constant hits from the guys you expect, and Bryce Harper and JT Realmuto. I mean, Harper's now hitting 356 on the season after 2 more hits. JT, it's 2 more home runs to give him 7 on the year and adds 4 RBIs, and he's hitting 292. So these guys are like the ones you expected are doing what they're supposed to. I think the concern is there's no consistency from McCutchen. I mean, it looks like he started to turn the corner a little bit, added 2 more hits yesterday, but then he goes 0 for 4 today. I mean, I don't know. Is that the biggest thing you see in this offense too, Sean? Just not consistent enough?
I'm seeing that the guys that really were going to be the X factors coming into the season. And, every team seems to have these guys that are right on the fringe of not really in the spotlight, but are going to be the ones driving the team. Every single one of those guys for this team has just not even come up short, like hasn't even come close to what they could be. McCutchen looks like a shell of himself. I don't know what happened to him. I mean, Segura is starting to turn it around at the plate, but he's just a bonehead that, I could go on about Segura. I'll save that for Shane because I know he has a lot to say. Kingery, who was supposed to just be, a bottom of the order bat, somebody that can just hit 250, get on base 350, and even then, like, nobody complains because he's the 8 guy. You know what I mean? Like, any of those situations, even Roman Quinn, a guy that's just supposed to slap the ball, get on base, be a defensive wizard. It's like every single one of these guys that was just supposed to play a role hasn't even come close to what they could have been doing up to this point. The guys that you expect to have a monster season in Bryce and JT, they're both proving how good they are. They're both being completely overlooked because of how bad the rest of this team is playing around them. And there's really no explanation to it. It's it might just be because it's a shortened season. They didn't really get a full spring training. I mean, there's a number of excuses, but at some point you got to just look at these guys and say something has to change. At some point they have to turn it around. And I was saying it yesterday. At some point the law of averages has to catch up with this team. And I don't know if that's, inevitable. I don't know if it will even come out in a 60-game season, but at some point things have to start turning in our direction and maybe something falls for us instead of against us. And it just feels like everything's happened against us so far.
Well,
go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, I responded to you in that. I think the Phillies just suck so much they might be exempt from that. Like, they might honestly be exempt from that. And the guy in heaven might be laughing that came up with that law at us right now, watching this baseball team. But, no, it's frustrating watching guys. I mean, when you have Gosselin being one of your most consistent hitters, and I love Phil Gosselin, but he's not supposed to be one of your most consistent freaking hitters. And neither is Adam Hazley. He's supposed to be good, but not one of your most consistent. So this team's been frustrating to watch, other than our core 3, I would say, because we shouldn't leave out Diddy. Diddy's only got like 1 hit for the last couple games, but he still looked very good. So, I mean, you can't leave out Sir Didi there. Can't leave him out.
No, and I want to touch on something Sean said real quick. I agree with you too. Like, with how bad the offense, like, this team is doing, it's overshadowing, like you said, what JT and Bryce are able to do. Like, JT's got 7 home runs now in the year, which the leader is Aaron Judge with 9. So outside of that, JT's right up there in most home runs in the league. He sits 3rd or 4th now behind Judge, Tatis, and Trout. So it's like, and imagine if the Phillies didn't miss however many games, and now they're playing catch up in total games. And I don't think anyone ever talks about JT. I don't ever hear his name really mentioned at this point in the season. And Harper's now hitting 356, and no one ever talks about like Bryce Harper now. And I know we always talk about how Harper never really gets a fair look at before anyway. But, like, imagine if this team was doing what the Yankees did and got off to that fast start. Like, the names would be thrown out there like crazy, and it'd be all about the Phillies and Yankees. And you just don't see that because, I mean, let's face it, the Phillies are the laughing stock because of that bullpen. Like, when I'm on Twitter, like, not even just from Phillies fans, like, I got people sending me stuff and tagging me and stuff about how bad it is. And after today, the bullpen's ERA is now like 10.56, 14 or 10.56, 14 games in. I read they've given up 48 earned runs in 42 innings.
Yeah, yeah, Vince is almost part of the 80 ERA club. He hasn't got there quite yet. He's at a 7.88 after today's game.
See, Vince, I don't know how you read that now though, because because he's obviously had a high one from starting, but
yeah.
No, I heard today I think there's 6 guys with a 10 or above ERA going into that game, and like they're just I don't know what you can do after that point.
It almost feels like there's got to be some common denominator, and like that's what I was saying. And I know you like I'm half joking when I say this, and I know Borek, you're doing the same, that they're exempt to this law of averages thing. But everybody brings up how bad the Nationals bullpen was at the beginning of last year. They were the worst bullpen in history, and it feels like for however many games, and it feels like the Phillies are matching that, if not surpassing that, because there's nobody in that bullpen that even looks close to what they should be doing right now. But I don't see how this I don't see how this continues. I don't see how they continue to be this bad. At some point, I mean, Austin Davis and Cole Irvin aside, because I never want to see them in a big league uniform again. Some of these guys are going to start to come in and throwing in 1, 2, 3 innings, shutdown innings. At some point, I think we're going to see Vinny finally touch 95 out of the bullpen and get a shutdown inning. I think we're going to see it from, we know Hector can do it. We know Adam Morgan's capable of it. We know Jose Alvarez can do it. Like all these younger guys that are just coming up this year, or Diolis Guerra, any of these guys, they're all capable of shutting down a big league lineup, especially an Orioles lineup. And we just haven't seen it yet. There just haven't been many good breaks in our favor. And I think at some point they have to start. That ERA has to start coming down. It can't just keep climbing up every game. There's no way this sustains in the way that it's trending towards.
No, yeah. I agree with you, Sean, just because, let's face it, like you said, Hector Neris is good enough to get ball players out, and he's going to get his saves. It just happened where one of his blown saves is just in the midst of this terrible stretch of the bullpen and the terrible stretch of this team, and he comes in, obviously finally has a chance to get that save, and he can't do it. But, we all know deep down, Hector Neris has saved before. I mean, last year, he wasn't bad overall. I know some people were frustrated with him. But overall, he'll get the job done, and we'll see where he goes from there. So, like you said, it's going to eventually fall out. It's just when it's all put together right now, and it's 14 games in, it's just laughable. And I see what you're saying, and I hope you're right. And hopefully it happens sooner rather than later, because in the shortened season, I don't know how far you can let it stretch out before it really comes back to get this team. Because I don't know about you guys. I saw this. The Phillies have the second worst record in the NL after today's loss.
Yeah.
So. And that's where I wanted to see where you guys were at. And I know it's even for a 60-game season with the expanded playoffs, it's still kind of early for that. But, Borek, let's start with you. Do you see a turnaround happening soon? Do you think it's panic mode? What state do you think fans and the team should be feeling? Is it panic mode? Can they stay calm? Are they in must-win situations yet? I mean, what are you feeling overall?
Well, when the guy that has the best chance of doing what Sean said, balancing out the law of averages, looks like it's Blake Parker, then yeah, you might want to be pressing panic button a little bit there. Russo, who I like, looks really good, and I'm hoping that's exactly what Brogdon does, just has a terrible first outing. And then the next couple, he starts to balance it out and looks really good, and I think he has the capabilities to do that. So hopefully that makes us not be one of the worst teams in baseball and actually give us better hopes of coming back and being in the playoff run, since there is an expanded. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, Biscuit said it in the group. If this bullpen stays this heinous, then yeah, you're not making the postseason, even probably expanded. And if you do, you're going to get walloped by whoever you play in the postseason anyway. So you'd probably rather not make the postseason just to avoid the embarrassment of however they do the first round if they're this year with the expanded teams. So, I mean, the Phillies have just been annoying to watch, and the Sixers haven't made it much better. That's why I'm glad I have the Flyers, because the Sixers have had both of our guys get injured. So, yeah, the Phillies, this team is making it hard for us here in Philly. So hopefully they can balance it out, and hopefully Spencer Howard has a very good outing. His next outing, which is tomorrow. So that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping all these young guys help to balance it out.
What about you, Sean? Before I touch on that, what are you feeling? Are you same question? How are you feeling, and where are you at on whether it's panic mode or whatnot? Because real quick, I don't know if you guys saw, Tommy Hunter said it's way too early. I'm not hitting the red panic button or whatever. And that's where that question comes from. Is Hunter kind of overlooked the struggles of everything so far?
Well, I mean, I feel like I've been giving off the same vibe this whole time. There's no reason to panic yet. I mean, it's super alarming, but things, like I said, in baseball, they're funny. Things will, for a long stretch of time, will just not fall in your favor. And then all of a sudden, one turnaround and everybody gets hot, and all of a sudden Scott Kingery is going to hit 4 for 4 one day, and we're all going to be like, where was that the entire season? But I truly believe that there's still time. It's still early. This team can easily go on a run. Bryce has been on this entire season. I don't see him slowing down at all. And even if JT goes back to what he was last year, which is still above average. And if these few guys that are hot start to cool off at the same time that everybody picks up what they have been slacking on this whole time, this team can easily go for a run. We've seen what this team can do when they're all on at the same time. It's just a matter of getting everybody together all at once, working towards the same goal, and actually accomplishing it. You know, the bullpen finally has to get some shutdown innings. Our starters have looked fine, but our lineup has just fallen short where it needs to be. And certain guys, if they pick it up just a little bit, all of a sudden you're looking at a team that should get, you know, a second or even, you know, wild card contention. So I don't think it's time to panic just yet, but it is extremely alarming if we don't start to pick it up soon.
And go ahead.
I was just going to say the other reason, and Andrew, you know, normally I'm not one to hit a panic button early in the season. You've probably known me for enough years to know that. We have a shit bullpen. So no matter what, if you get the second wild card spot, it's not going to mean anything. Like, if you just get there because you're able to bank off of your starters, maybe Vince gets going, so you have like him and Hector and the guys you expect with Alvarez, and it's only like Russo to add to that, you still don't have that great of a bullpen. You're going to have to tax a lot of guys in order to get anywhere. So it's still not good logistics going forward. It's like, yeah, maybe we're sneaking, but even if we sneak in, we're probably going to be ass in the playoffs. So it's like,
that's fine with me. Just sneak in at this point. We haven't seen a playoff game in, what is it, 9 years now? Like, honestly, at this point, if we make the playoffs, obviously I would care in this situation.
Out like this though, like if it's like a 1 game out situation, do we want to be at 11-4? Like,
yes, honestly, yes. I would rather an 11-4 playoff loss in a 1 game than not make the playoffs at all. Like, we haven't seen a playoff game in 9 years. Even if it's just 1 game, I mean, these guys need playoff experience eventually. Like, Nola's never thrown in a big time must win situation. He needs to get that under his belt. Like, whether it's that's why I would never rather us, especially in baseball, like anything can happen once you get to the playoffs. I mean, we've seen what the Cardinals have done. We've seen what the Giants have done. I mean, we've seen what Kansas City did in their run that 1 year. I mean, once playoff baseball happens, anything can happen. I mean, whether it's 1 game or not, I'd take a playoff spot. But I think one thing that alarms me, which
I agree. I was just curious. I was just saying it would be a pain in the ass. I feel like it would piss me off more in the end.
Well, obviously, I'd be mad during the game, but I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh, this game doesn't matter. At least we made the playoffs. I'm not going to be like that chill. But I'd rather the 1 playoff game than 0 is what I was saying.
No, I get you. I agree with that.
But I think I'm interested to see what you guys think on this. The one thing that really, outside the bullpen, obviously, that really concerns me for the Phillies to kind of turn this around is the delayed start that they had compared to other teams. Like, meaning now that they have to play so many games in a few days and the amount of doubleheaders they're going to have to play, so the limited amount of off days that were already in the schedule, now they have even less than other teams. That kind of concerns me as well, to kind of make a quick turnaround and really move up in the standings, just because, I mean, we already see how much wear and tear this team seems to have on them in terms of the bullpen and everything. So it's only going to quickly get tougher and tougher as it goes on there. Does that concern you guys at all? And we'll go back to Sean to start.
I mean, I'm not so much concerned with that. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to blame that because on why they're struggling, because I feel like there's so much more. Like there's so many more things going on. People just aren't performing and whatever. But I don't blame it on them missing time and then all of a sudden having to, you know, play so many games. You know, it's such a shortened season that even no off days for a 40-day period, I don't think that's going to slow them down much any more than they're already slowed down, it feels like. So I think because there's more guys, because there's a lot more substitutions, and because we have Joe Girardi, who has already shown us that he's not going to play a guy every single day other than maybe Bryce. He's been giving guys off days. He's very aware of when guys look tired. And for that reason, I think maybe the only solid thing that Girardi has done so far is make sure players are safe and healthy. And I think we're going to be okay in that standard.
Okay. I see it as, I mean, I hope you're right. I think that's a fair point with how well Girardi's balanced it. So we'll see what happens from there. What about you, Bork? You think that will play an effect on it, or?
I feel like playing a lot of consecutive games should get you in a groove. Kind of like Sean was getting at. Like you're playing all these back-to-back games. You're not used to that, but that should also get you in a groove in terms of being at the plate because you're not having a series a day off or like a 2-game series like they started having in the 162 game seasons now, and then sometimes a couple days off if you have like those rare occurrences. So I mean, I think it actually should help you having all these back-to-back games, except for if guys are unable to stay healthy. But so far, we've only had one key injury in Hazley, so happened when the season started. We had some before the season, but that's something that I think is going to be a case. I think we just need more guys to step up. I mean, Sean's hit the nail on the head earlier in the podcast, and I think Arano might need to be one of those guys whenever he's able to come back in the bullpen because you really need another guy to step up, and that's hopefully what we have happen because Girardi has been doing a good job at balancing who's in and out of the lineup. The one thing he sometimes does piss me off with is taking starters out, but I'll get over it, I guess. Potentially, probably not. But yeah, I think we just need to. He needs to figure out how to push the starters a little bit and when to push them. I think that's the one thing he also needs to improve on a little bit, Joe Girardi, and that'll help us if we. You might have to have a guy throw like 102 sometime to get through the 7th inning, so you only have your relievers pitching 2 innings. And if Arrieta's cruising like he did today, and then say he had that inning in like the 6th, but he only gave up like 1 run. Then we had like that double play, and he got a double play, and it wasn't just missed double play. Then he would potentially, if he had like 89, you might just want to throw him back out there because if he starts bouncing back, like you see starters have a bad inning, and then the next inning they're lights out. So if he bounces back that inning, he's better than any of our relievers. So I think that's something we need to hone in on and get better at managing when to push our starters or not if we want to be successful with a struggling bullpen. Otherwise, this team's just going to keep having the same thing we have continuous to see happen and go nuts about in our group chat and all that stuff.
Yeah, and hopefully we got 2 guys around the corner, in Ranger Suarez and, like you mentioned, Victor Arano. They both been doing work, and hopefully they can come back soon, and maybe you finally kick out Austin Davis and Cole Irvin. So maybe you got 2 guys here coming around the corner that can hopefully help out down the stretch. But obviously, even though the Phillies have been disappointing, they still got games going on. Flyers got another playoff game tomorrow. Sixers coming back with the playoffs starting next week. Hopefully, you guys obviously are going to get hungry. Go check out Just Food. Go see what the different sandwiches, different options they have, anywhere from any type of meat, ham, roast beef, any veggie sandwich you want, veggie wraps they have as well. Go check out Just Food at 215-794-FOOD or 215-794-3663. Also, check out or ask for our guy, Asian Rob. Ask for the Chef's Choice as well, another fantastic option there at Just Food. So with all these games coming up, playoffs wrapping up or starting up with the NBA and NHL, if you have any gatherings or anything, make sure you go check them out as well. As mentioned, Phillies they'll get back at it this weekend. Nothing's gonna be easy, obviously, in the season, but hey, every series is big at this point, and you got another big one this weekend. This time you're going back against your division rival, probably one of your biggest rivals in the New York Mets. Phillies will be home again. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like the Phillies haven't had a road series in forever. Like, I feel like the Phillies have played home almost every game this year so far. But a big series this weekend against the Mets. It obviously, again, won't be easy. You start off tomorrow with Jacob deGrom, arguably the best pitcher in the game. Then you face Steven Matz on Saturday, who's been struggling so far this year. And then you face a guy that's been struggling the last couple years, is a former Cy Young winner, in Rick Porcello. The Phillies' options this weekend will be Spencer Howard tomorrow, making his second career start, Aaron Nola on Saturday, and then Zach Wheeler on Sunday. So you have your starters to go out there and get the job done. We'll start with you, Bork. What are you picturing this weekend, and not only the games, but just in some of the players? Like, who would you need to see step up for a big series win this weekend?
Okay, well, the people to step up are people that Sean basically highlighted in his whole spiel about our lineup. You need to see different guys like Gene continue to step up. He's still only hitting 209, so he has to continue to hit to actually be the Gene Segura we expect him to be, and not just have these couple of days. And he only had one hit today, I think. So you need obviously a guy like Hoskins to step up more. You can't just keep having him take walks. You need to have him. I mean, I think we're starting to turn into honestly Reds fans with Joey Votto. Like it's like you dumbass, stop taking all these walks and swing at a pitch. Like I think that's honestly like what we're starting to turn into. But I think pitching matchup wise, other than tomorrow, because I'm not ranking Spencer Howard as much as I love him, obviously better than Jacob deGrom. Pitching matchup wise, we obviously beat them because we have Knowles going on Saturday against Matz, who's pitching terrible this year, and we also hit around sometimes. So hopefully that doesn't stop. And then we have Rick Porcello going for the Mets on Sunday against Zach Wheeler, who in his worst start battled through 5 1/3 or 2/3, whatever it was, innings and looked solid as well, giving up 3. So, I mean, we have definitely the better hand of the pitching matchups to win it. The problem being is those guys probably need to go 7. But that's the only issue. But I think I need to see guys like Hector step up because he had a bad outing. So I would say in order the key to win the series is Nearest and guys like Hunter stepping up because we can't win a series without your 2 guys that you expected to be your 8th and 9th inning guys, along with Gene Segura continuing to struggle as a bat in the lineup and Rhys Hoskins. That's not going to work. You need to get those 4 guys going, especially the 2 in the pen because our bullpen's pitiful. At least our offense averages 5 runs because of the inconsistency. So, yeah, those would be my 4 guys. But I'm interested to see what Sean thinks on his guys since he gave the whole spiel about the lineup.
Hey, go ahead, Sean. You can go ahead and give your take on this upcoming weekend.
I will say my biggest, I'm not going to say X factor, but the way it's looking right now with the lineup, I have a feeling Segura might stay in that 2-hole. I would hope so. I think he might probably try and put Reese back there, but if not, it's going to be Segura. I think he has to step it up big time. He has to stop trying to drive the ball, but I mean, like I said, I'll leave the spiel to Shane. I'm sure he's going to have a lot to say. Shane loves Gene Segura. But I do think we somehow, just because of how baseball is and how this team works, I think we pull out a win tomorrow against deGrom. I think Nola somehow pulls it out against Steven Matz, but I have a feeling that on Saturday, Rick Porcello is going to look like Cy Young Rick Porcello because that just seems like the trend. You know, guys that used to have success in this league all of a sudden look like their prime self against the Phillies. So it just feels like we're going to end up bouncing back the series, but in a sour way. You know, we somehow pull out an ugly game tomorrow against deGrom, maybe like a 3-2 win. Our bullpen almost gives it up at the end or something. You're going to see, I don't even know what to expect Nola start, but when Wheeler starts, I have a feeling he's going to get hit around, and Porcello is just absolutely going to shut down the lineup. The only one that's going to get a hit off Porcello is Phil Gosselin. So, I mean, I'm not looking for. They're going to find a way to make me hate my life every single game, but I do think they have the potential to take 2 of 3 against a not very good Mets team this season. So, I guess we'll see.
You're spot on with Porcello. If it's not the former guy that used to be good, it's some new rookie that like just gets caught up or something that just finds a way to shut this team down.
Yeah, Porcello did just shut down before his last start. He sucked against it. Well, he pitched okay in 4 innings against Atlanta. He was lights out against Washington after he sucked in Game 1 against Washington in his first start of the season. So hopefully he does not pitch 7 innings of 5 hits against us. That
could absolutely see it.
No, I think the big guy, if you want to call it X Factor this weekend, I think it might have to be the new guy, Alec Bohm. Like, I really think so at this point. Like, you know what you have to get at. You know what you're going to get out of the other guys. Like, Harper and JT can't step up anymore. Like, they're already doing everything they can. So you already know what you can get from those guys. And you mentioned it. Even if Segura does bat in the 2 spot and he kind of just pokes singles here and there, whatever, Alec Bohm might be having the guy that drive him in. And I'm interested to see what Girardi does this weekend. Because if you do put Segura in the 2 spot, where do you drop Hoskins? Like, obviously he used to be the 4 hitter, but he's obviously not performing like a 4 hitter would. Um, with Gregorius today with Gregorius at 5 and then Bohm at 6, could you guys see Hoskins at anywhere from 7 to 9? Because that just doesn't seem like a spot for Hoskins to be at. But unless like there's just so many guys in this lineup here with potential to do something, where do you guys potentially see Hoskins batting this weekend if it's not 2? Whichever one you guys want to start can go.
Got it.
All right. With Bohm coming up, it kind of throws a curveball and everything. And I do think Hoskins is going to go back in that 2 hole. I think Girardi is kind of anticipating a hot streak to come. And I've said this to, a couple of my home friends. Like, I do think that a Hoskins hot streak is coming at some point. I mean, it has to. And if it lasts 40 games, which it usually does last, it feels like about a month when he does get hot. It could drive us right into the postseason if there is one. He's another one that really needs to step it up and really show that he can swing the bat instead of holding it on his shoulder. But if he gets bumped out of the 2 hole for Segura, I can see them throwing him 6th or 7th. I can easily see them trying to put, Bohm in the 5, and then have Hoskins 6th or Gregorius 6th, and then whoever isn't, 7th, and then having Quinn back in the 9 and whoever else at 8. I mean, at that calling Bohm up and moving Hoskins farther back in your lineup really does extend, the lineup. It extends the potential power that you have back there, the potential RBI guys, the potential clutch guys, and it's so depressing talking about how good this lineup should be, and it's just not at this point. So I'll throw it to you, Borek. What do you think?
Yeah. I already kind of said it earlier. It's frustrating watching a team that should do so much more, and we have 2 of them in Philly, so it's not fun doing that. So it's frustrating watching this team this year. I just think we need to have our starters go. Like I said, you literally have to push them and just have them go 6 1/3 or like 7 innings a time if they have the pitch count to do it. You can't be taking guys out at 80, 85 pitches. You have to take them out at 95, 100 pitches, honestly, with our bullpen. That's the only way we're winning games with this team. I also think they need to get rid of the other people that, like, I don't know why we're making these roster moves and we think Cole Irving and Austin Davis are great guys to keep on the roster when, like, Seabold and other guys look decent in camp where we're playing in Lehigh, doing those exhibition games or whatever you call them, simulation games. I would just give those guys a chance by default at this point. The other guys suck anyway, so, what the heck's the point of keeping them up? You might as well. I don't have as much high hopes, kind of like we're seeing is with Medina anymore. He's kind of looked more like a flat prospect at this point, where you might get what you get, but you might as well give him a shot. I honestly think Seabold at this point might do better in the majors than Medina. Medina was a top guy that just started sucking, and you don't like seeing it when you have a couple bad years from a top guy. But I just hope we have to get saved by our young guys. It's like that old TV show, Saved by the Bell. We need to be saved by the youngsters. That's what the Phillies need to be, literally. How you have that young energy come in and spark your team. That's what they need. They need Bohm to get going. They need Howard to get going, and young guys really start to thrive and get a team going. That's why it was a shame Hazley got injured, because I think if he got in the lineup more consistently, he was another young guy that would have he's a guy that would have just got the team going as he was going, because he's a guy, if Cut struggles, can lead off. That's why it's huge that he actually got injured. That people don't realize that's a big loss for the lineup, in my opinion, because with Cut struggling, I would have started leading him off eventually because he has good back control. I don't see many other people I would lead off right now in this lineup, other than if you move JT from 4, but he has 7 home runs, so I'm not moving from 4 right now. So, like, there's not really anybody else I see to lead off, unless if we lead off Andrew Knapp when he starts.
Uh, Never know. But no, hey, maybe we since we already got rid of the best 8 hitter in baseball in Franco, maybe we try to move Hoskins to that 8 spot, recreate the best 8 hitter in baseball.
Jade's gonna kick
Well, I'm in Oklahoma. I think I'm safe. But no, yeah, it's gonna be an interesting weekend. That's for sure with these call ups and the roster moves. I don't know what they're gonna do with because that's the other thing is how long do you let McCutchen ride out in that leadoff spot if he's only hitting below, if he's hitting below 200 and he hasn't drawn as many walks as he did last year. So who knows before you try to change it. I know I mentioned this before, I think to you, Borek, but I know Quinn he doesn't go the 3 for 4. He doesn't have a high average, but he's gotten hits, and I feel like he's gotten hits in every game so far except for 2 that he's played in, if I remember correctly. So like I know it's not a high average, but he goes like 1 for 4, so he's gonna be hitting around 250. Maybe you give him a shot at leadoff at some point. But I don't know what they're gonna do because, like you guys mentioned, there really is no other leadoff hitters on this team, especially with the guys that aren't performing would be your potential leadoff hitters, because even Segura could be a potential one if he was hitting, but he's not. So I don't know what they're going to do. Hopefully they find a way to muster up 2 or 3 wins this weekend. I'm pretty nervous about it. Again, Phillies have dropped 5 of the last 6 games recently from that Braves series. Now this is getting swept to Baltimore. But before I wrap it up, I don't know if you guys have any final thoughts here or anything you want to plug at the end here, but we'll start with you, Borek, on that. Let's hear what your final thoughts are.
Well, Rob made sure to get this in here. Fire Glenn Tack with 5 exclamation points. Make sure 5 exclamation points, everyone. And he also said I was wrong about Girardi. So whatever that means, he'll explain that on Sunday. But this team, like I said, I kind of said my final thought throughout the night. They just need to get consistent, and we need guys. It was going to be we need the guys to step up and save us. We need Hunter near us. We need Brogdon, who's a good young pitcher that had a bad, rough outing, hopefully to do what Russo did and bounce right back and start looking good. And then we need to call up guys like Arano immediately and Seabold and get rid of stupid Irvin pitching tactics that are from 1962 and Austin Davis's pitching tactics that haven't worked in the whole history of baseball. So we need to get rid of those 2 from our bullpen and call up another 2 people. I mean, this team, I don't understand some of the movements we're doing, but I think we just need those guys to step up and the youngsters, and then that's when we have a chance, like we talked about earlier, to balance this out to be a wild card team, and hopefully an actually decent wild card team and not a team that plays a juggernaut, so we don't match up whatsoever against them.
No, I agree with all that. What about you, Sean? Any final thoughts you got here?
Earlier in our group chat, Shane got in his normal Michael Franco slander, and he's going to be very happy that I brought this up on the podcast. So I decided to go because I knew he was having a pretty decent season, and look up the MLB ranks for OPS right now at this point in the season, like where they are. And it's still early, so there are definitely some skewed numbers. By the way, Michael Franco has a higher OPS than a lot of big names like NL runner-up or NL MVP Cody Bellinger and runner-up Christian Yelich. But anyway, when I went to look at this list of the OPS ranks for the majors, right behind Charlie Blackmon, who's batting like 500 so far this year, at number 2 was Bryce Harper. So it's amazing to me how underrated he already is, and the people that say he's overrated just they don't know what they're talking about. So Bryce, like we all thought at the beginning of the year, is having a semi-MVP type season. Obviously far fewer games, but I mean, tonight he goes out and hits a double and a triple, and he scores 2 of the Phillies' 4 runs, both being hit in by a JT Realmuto home run. So we all thought Bryce was going to have an unbelievable season in a sprint of a 60-game season, and he's doing it. So there is some small shimmers of light in all the darkness that is the 2020 Phillies.
Yeah, I forgot a final thought for Biscuit since you brought up JT Realmuto. Sign JT right now. Go ahead, Andrew.
No, I agree with that. I was always a big Franco guy as well. I always thought I always platooned him. I felt like they never gave him a real fair shot here, but obviously Alec Bohm was going to be better than him, so it'll all work out in the end. But no, yeah, like Borek just mentioned, go out, sign JT, another 2 home runs today. I mentioned it earlier.
And Andrew Knapp, his contract expires. Don't forget about Andrew Knapp.
Best
Honestly,
backup catcher in baseball.
He's having a good year, but give me a bullpen help
no,
before
no.
we sign Andrew Knapp. I'm sorry,
No,
but
he wasn't.
but no, yeah, go out, sign JT, another 2 home runs today. He's now 4th in the MLB in home runs, obviously behind top guys in the league. Maybe it's our job now to try to get Harper more recognition because, like Sean keeps mentioning it, very underrated. Hopefully that can change soon with maybe a Phillies run here. But as we wrap it up, Phillies Mets this weekend, always a fun rivalry to watch. Gonna be interesting to watch it without any fans there because I feel like that kind of makes these kind of series sometimes. But hopefully the Phillies find a way to at least get 2 this weekend. They desperately need it. But as I wrap it up here, don't forget, go out, order just food. I'll say the number again one more time, 215-794-3663. And then once again, as always, our intro and outro music is produced by the Jackdolls. Go out, check them out. You can check them out at www.jackdolls.com. We're going to send this one off to Jackdolls. For Sean, for Borek, I'm Andrew. Have a great night, and hopefully we get another Phillies series win this weekend. Have a good weekend, everybody.
A fighting man I used to be, revered and feared through Killarney. Now I'm back to hitching with the wind. But if Mickey Flynn should ever find me, I'll throw me caution all behind me and square off on that son of a bitch again. He cracked open a river too, he beat me Sunday through and through, and such over my unconscious frame. I won me healthy sheriff fights, well lucky son, still have me life since Mickey Flynn beat me dumb and lame.